Good morning. I wanted to do a video. I have not done many in this class because we've worked the labs right straight out of the book in the class. I want to tell you all of you, that I appreciate your work this semester, and I know that you did extraordinary because you had a teacher that was having a lot of health problems, and you had to help the teacher in this class in a lot of situations. But I did want to just wrap it up. We looked at Oracle. We're able to compare Oracle and SQL Server, and I think we all pretty much agree that SQL Server is easier. We begin to not feel as cumbersome as Oracle, I think, but it does leave a lot of things to the DBA. Anyway, Chapter 9 was schemas. We looked at how Oracle manages the tables and manages the constraints, indexes in this, how the schemas work. In Chapter 10, we looked at the concurrency of data and looking at being able to select and roll back, create a save point. Our only look at PLSQL was in this chapter, looking at functions and procedures, and that does stand for procedure language. That, to me, takes a lot of experience. If you used Oracle on a routine basis, then you would get where you use PLSQL. If you look online, you'll see that a lot of code is out there for PLSQL, for the common things that you might use it for. And then locking contentions in that chapter. Chapter 11, managing undo data, looking at the transactions themselves and how we can undo that. The acid test, all or nothing, consistency, isolation, and then durability in that chapter. Chapter 12, implementing security, and this was one of my favorite chapters to see how Oracle does it, and we learned that Oracle leaves a lot of that to the DBA. We looked at the DBAs being audited, having checks and balances between the DBAs. And I thought that was, to me, that was my favorite part of Oracle, that there are checks and balances in place. Because a lot of times the top DBA has no check. A lot of times in a small company, there's only one person that wears all those hats. Looking at privileges, and when I went to the SQL Server conference, the privileges are really important to set those up, to set them up in roles, and only the doctoring of least privilege, right? Give them just what they need to do their job. Chapter 13 is maintaining the database, looking at the optimizer and the automatic workload application, looking at automatic diagnostics, and then configuring alerts. And I think that would go along with a company, just fine-tuning your Oracle database and how the users use your database. Chapter 14, performance, looking at memory, the memory advisors, repairing invalid objects, and I've got 4 in mine. I've got 4 invalid objects, and when we went through that chapter, I tried to fix them and I could not. It still shows up at those 4. Chapter 15, backup and recovery, and by far I think most DBAs would consider this as one of the most important things to understand. And we see that how Oracle does the backup and recovery, to monitor it, to use the logs, use flash recovery. I want to pause just for a minute and look something up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I just wanted to look at a couple of things. Mr. Andrew Forrest, the CEO of this company in Albertville, was the one industry leader that told Mr. Randall, suggested Mr. Randall to teach Oracle. Well, I had heard that they weren't using Oracle themselves, that they were using SQL Server, and in fact, they actually are. That is a product of SQL Server, that MDS analyzer. When you look at their site, they're really into long-term health uh, facilities. If you read about it, they just have geared their software that they created themselves to that industry. So that industry has given them everything that, they don't need outside, and that happens a lot. My daughter, actually, their main client is YMCA's, so it looks like Team TSI is really just for long-term health care now. The other thing I wanted to look at was how many companies are uh, advertising that they work with Oracle backups. And when I keyed in Oracle, this was the only company that actually came up in working with Oracle and SQL Server. Sorry, looking at Spring there. Then I talked to a lot of DBAs, and they don't do their own backup and recovery. So I was wondering who specialized in Oracle backup and recovery, and really did not see that many companies out there that are specializing just in Oracle. And I'm sure there's others, but I just wanted to check on that. Then in Chapter 16, we looked again at backups and managing server managed backups, or the users doing it themselves. Incremental backups, and we know that incremental is just what has changed. Then the automatic backups, and then the Rain Man backups. So how that chapter was all about creating your backups. Chapter 15 is in general how the logs work and flash memory work, and then 16 is dedicated to backup, 17 is dedicated to recovery, the data recovery advisor, and then repairing a fault with that data recovery advisor. Chapter 18, moving data and integrating data using the SQL loader, a data pump in the network. I put a link here when I was creating this assignment, and I don't really remember looking at it in class. I'm constantly, when I'm reviewing for classes, I constantly do look for other things. So here was what I was looking at, that link. All programming languages have syntax on how you upload files. And in Chapter 18, you did have to save that data file. I saved it straight on the C drive, and it went in so much easier that way. So that was 18, bringing data in. 19, really, we looked at the support bench, how to get online help. We could not do Linux, so the patch, we have the latest version of version 11 in the Windows environment, so we actually couldn't do the patch. And we were so close to the end of the semester, I think we just decided to look at IBM some other time. I honestly don't know in the area. That would be a good Google too. Let's just quick. How much IBM there are. Let's just Google that real quick while I can pause the video so you don't have to wait, but anytime it rains as hard as it is today, the internet just gets a little bit slower. I'm just going to do DB2 in Alabama. $82. So there's more than I actually had given credit for. IBM does have other products besides DB2, but I'm not sure that just brought DB2 jobs. It looks like it has also some other databases in there as well. There's not. Okay, let's just take that IBM off and just look at DB2. In our area, I use SQL Server and Oracle 13. So, and let's take a look, Birmingham, Irondale, they're all in the Birmingham area. They're industrial electricians, it's not need to be there. Sometimes it just depends on what's actually in that job site. There's a BI developer, business intelligence. So there's a few, but my suspicions are right. There's not very many. So when we're looking at the database track, we're trying to decide if we're going to leave it as is, if we're going to change it. I'm not sure, even though IBM gives us that free software, if it's actually worth putting a class in. Okay, I just wanted to go over a little bit what we did this semester. I appreciate your attendance, your work in class, in both the classes that you were in. Thank you, and have a good day.